I remember driving into the office that day. I felt like I was going to throw up. I was going to puke when I got there. I was so nervous and went in. It went by in like a flash, like split second. I don't even remember doing it anymore. And then afterwards, like just the outpouring of support and positive feedback was just so overwhelmingly incredible.
All right, guys, here we go now. It is time to unlock more doors to deals. We're real estate investors here. We're real estate agents here, and we all have one thing in common. We believe that we can. We can live the life of our purpose. We can create financial freedom. We can build a better life for those that we love, and we can live the life of our dreams. I don't care if you're trying to do your first deal or your 500th this year. You can get to the next level, and we're here to help. Hey there, welcome to another Doors to Deals episode. I'm your host and founder, Jim Manning. Today's episode can be found on our website, doorstodeals.com/006. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're an IT professional that's curious about investing or actively investing, or really heck, anyone with a full-time corporate America job, Dave's story is for you because he was you just a few short months ago. Dave's now a full-time investor in our network, but started out as a part-time investor while he worked in corporate America as an IT professional. One of the things that I learned from this particular episode was that we talked a lot about fear. We all have it. We all have to deal with it. And if you're willing to face your fear with courage and go after your dreams anyway, even if your biggest fears end up coming to reality, even if they end up happening, and in Dave's case, they did, his biggest fear was buying a house that he ended up losing money on. If you keep going and you learn and you keep moving forward, on the other side of it is your ultimate destiny and the biggest impact that you can make on the world. So today, listen up, guys. The lesson in this podcast are important no matter who you are or where you come from. We all have obstacles that we have to overcome. In the first half, Dave's going to share his stories and what he had to go through to make it in real estate and the mindset that helped him overcome these obstacles. And then in the second half, it's going to be all about how Dave made over $80,000 on one single deal, how he negotiated it, got it under contract, how he did the remodel, you name it. All right, guys, let's get on to the interview.
So the man, the myth, the legend, David Onanian. Welcome, my friend. So let's go back to the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey. What sparked it for you, man? Like what made you decide, hey, this corporate America thing's not it for me. I need something more.
Yeah, glad you asked. So it really goes back to being born and raised in St. Louis and a lifelong St. Louisan here. Love it here. Was raised in your basic middle-class family. Everybody around me said, go to college, get a job working for somebody else. And I really thought that was the only path you could go. Didn't really think about anything entrepreneurial out of college. Got a job as a software engineer, spent 12 years there at a very large corporation. And during my time there, I was doing well. I had 5 promotions, and it was that thing where every time you got a raise, though, you would go and buy something nicer. You'd buy a new truck. You'd buy a new SUV for your wife. You'd buy a lake house. I bought a boat. I bought a jet ski. We eventually bought a bigger house. And what I found after having all these possessions and having this great job that I thought I was supposed to have was that I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy at all. And I had no idea why. And it was seriously freaking me out. And when I really took the time to look at what was going on, I saw that I was caught up in the rat race. And if you guys don't know what that means you're on a hamster wheel doing the corporate job and paying all your bills, and you don't have any money left over to save for retirement. What I did have was going in a 401k that I couldn't touch till I was 65. So I was basically guaranteeing myself here at 30 years old that I was going to be working this just miserable office corporate job for somebody else for the next 35 years. And it was going to take 40 or more hours out of my week. And I was starting to have children. So That's time away from my kids, time away from things I wanted to do. And you get home from work, you're exhausted. Like it was a bad situation. So I had to find a solution. And a buddy of mine happened to buy his first investment property. It was a rental property. And I saw how he did that. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's it. And then, of course, there's so much that you need to learn to get, able to buy your first property. And so that's when I started the journey of just soaking up all the information I can, networking with 3 Doors, other investors that I met, reading tons of books, listening to hundreds and hundreds of different podcasts on the topic, and just becoming more knowledgeable about how to do this stuff.
I don't remember this now. So, you've been with us in the network for a little while. How experienced were you? How many deals did you have going into before you joined up?
Yeah, that's a great question. So once I got bit by the investment bug per se, had the idea that I wanted to go invest in real estate. It probably took me 10 months, maybe a year, probably 10 months, just a little bit less than a year to actually pull the trigger and buy my first deal. So that whole time I'm analyzing deals. I'm afraid to write the offer. I'm afraid to submit the offer. I'm afraid of all these things that could go wrong because I've never done it before. But at the same time, I'm learning as much as I can through podcasts, books, talking to other people. And so I think I bought my first deal. It was September 2017. And that was an absolute nightmare. And what happened there was I bought a deal off of Craigslist from a wholesaler. And I kind of trusted the wholesaler's numbers. My numbers were kind of matching up with what he was saying. I put a little bit padding on the rehab. I said it was going to be a $25K rehab. It was going to be a rental for me. I was going to burr it. So I was going to buy it, rehab it, rent it out, refinance it, and then repeat and do that rinse and wash over and over again. Well, what happened was I got in there and I had no idea how to estimate a rehab, and the rehab costs end up getting up to close to $50,000, which almost left no money in our bank accounts. My wife and I had corporate jobs for 10 years at the time. We had this nice nest egg saved up in a savings account, and this rehab we just saw it just depleting our savings account to the point where if one more thing went wrong with this property, like we had no way to pay for a repair for it. So we ended up having to just list it on the market, try to sell it for as much as we could. All in all, we ended up losing a little over $5,000 on that first deal. But it was
how'd you feel when you're going through the rehab and the repairs were going like way over what you thought?
Holy cow. It was a dark place, Jim. I remember just laying awake at night, couldn't go to sleep, just worried, like, how much money did I just blow? And, how far did I set my family back financially with this decision? And, of course, me and my wife has been super supportive about this whole process, but that was probably one of the roughest times between us two, because she knew I had no idea what I was doing, and she saw all the money going out, and it was really scary. I haven't shared this with anybody yet, but I remember the day we pulled down the paneling in the basement in this house. This was a dump of a house in St. Anne, and the wall was shot. The foundation wall was shot. And I had the first contractor come over to give me a bid, and he said that the whole wall needed to be rebuilt from the ground up. They had to jack up the house, put it on a forklift basically, and that was going to cost me $20,000 just to fix this front wall, this foundation. And he left that day, and I literally cried. It was that bad. And that was the low point for sure. But to follow up on that, you always get 3 bids, right? And so the next 2 bids came in. Next bid was $10,000. The next bid was $5,000. Okay, I can stomach $5,000. And so we ended up getting it done, and it worked out. But
so what's interesting is it took you 10 minutes to build up the courage to do your first deal, right? And then because you were afraid, and then you buy the first house, and like pretty much everything you were afraid of happened, right?
Yep.
So like walk me through that, like that your fears are they happened and you're still here. Like what does that do for your confidence?
Um, it does. So the first deal doesn't do a lot of good at all for my confidence.
Okay.
I will tell you during that process, though, I kept telling myself that I was not going to give up. I was not going to let this deal kill me because I knew the other option. The other option was go back to my corporate job and spend the next 35 years, on a computer, on pointless conference calls and pointless email chains. Like that's not what I was going to do. And I even told my wife this at one point. If this takes us down, I'm going to be standing on the side of the highway with a cardboard sign saying "We buy houses." That's what I'm going to do if it comes down to it. So that's really the mindset I had going through that, even though it was a very painful, scary process.
So there's a Catch Me If You Can is a really good movie. Have you ever seen that?
I have not.
So definitely watch it, guys, if you guys haven't seen it. But the main story is two rats fall into a barrel, and the one rat drowns and gives up, and the other rat churns and churns and churns and turns it into butter and goes out. And I'm completely botching it, right? But I'm gonna have to look that up now. I'm really bothered that I botched this because I think in ideas and concepts, my words sometimes fail me. But so you became you were like that second mouse. You just said, hey, I'm gonna just keep on moving. There's nothing that's gonna stop me. I'm gonna make this happen.
Absolutely. And, hindsight's 2020, but looking back on it, it's like, losing several $1,000s, but all the learning that I got out of that experience, it was worth it in the end. So you got to pay for your education somehow. And that was one way to do it there.
Awesome. So, okay. So you get out. So let's kind of fast forward a little bit. So you end up losing $5,000 on it. You at least get back the money that you had.
Mm-hmm.
And so like then what happened?
So then, actually, while that rehab was going on, I found a foreclosure on the MLS. And I was able to get a conventional loan to purchase that. And that ended up being a very successful rental. And that was kind of towards the end of this nightmare first deal. And so then that kind of propelled me out of this thing saying, okay, I can do this over and over again and really scale up and get free of my corporate job. And also during that time, I actually joined 3 Doors. And so that was one of the key pieces, because being around you guys and the level of investors that are in this club is incredible to learn from and partner with. And it's an abundance community, abundance culture, and I love everything about it.
Oh, thanks, man. Okay, so then now you're starting to get momentum. And did you still like what was driving? So once you got through it, what was the why or like the motivation? It was just still, was it still like, I got to get out of my job. Like what was driving you to be such a badass?
Yeah. I mean, that was the big thing is getting out of a corporate 9-to-5 job that was just going to tie me to a desk and not let me live life and spend time with my friends, spend time with my family, or do the things I want to do every day. So that was probably the biggest reason for me to keep going and never look back.
That's awesome, man. So, okay. So as far as your journey goes, then you had this harebrained idea, right, on speaking in front of people.
Yeah, that
Let's go into this a little bit. So and you were deathly afraid of this too, right?
yes, yeah, definitely afraid of public speaking for sure. Um, and so back in high school and college, I wasn't outspoken at all. In college, they made me take a public speaking course to graduate. And I walked into that class, and there was literally like 60 people in there, and I walked right back out the first day. And I went to my counselor's office, like, there's no way I can do this. And so she said, well, if you stay this summer, you can get in the summer class. There's less people in there. And so that I stayed a whole summer semester.
Oh man, really?
Just so I could be in this class with 12 different people. It was 12 people in the class. I was still nervous as hell. But that's kind of where I came from. And then when I got into the corporate world, of course, there's presentations and conference calls that you have to be on. And even the thought of a conference call like freaked me the hell out, because I'm on this conference call and there's all these executives on there. There's all these people that have been working at the company for years and years and years. And I'm this new guy, young, non-experienced guy. And what am I supposed to be saying? And so it got so bad at the corporate job, being at all these meetings, I actually got on a medication that kind of calmed my nerves down and heart rate down. It was that bad. And so since I've pitched that away, but one of the things that kind of led me to return to public speaking and kind of face that fear was this idea that mindset was everything. And when I first got started in real estate investing, if you would have told me that it's all about mindset, I would have laughed at you. And if I had to guess what percentage of mindset successful real estate investor puts in, I'd say maybe it's about 5%. Before I did any deals, it's maybe about 5% of their success is going to come from their mindset. And now that I've been through dozens and dozens of successful deals and I know what it takes, now I know it's at least 80% mindset, and it's probably 90 to 95% mindset. And it's all about getting uncomfortable, getting things done, taking action when you don't want to take action. And go ahead.
I completely agree with you. And I wouldn't have thought that either. But like, I mean, to connect the dot for y'all, like the skill set to handle fear, like he was able to power through and do his first deal. It just opens up the abilities to do deals. Like fear can paralyze you, right? Like, and if you don't go into things with the right mindset, there's some people that go through life fighting every contractor that they go through, or fighting every, like with everybody around them, and they limit their growth, they limit their ability to do stuff, right? So like I completely agree with you that the real estate stuff, believe it or not, guys, looking back, the investing stuff, the how do I fill out a scope of work, how do I fill out a repair estimator, all of that, like that's actually the easier part. The hard part is dealing with people. It's dealing with yourself. It's the same challenge we all have when January 1st comes around and, I have a New Year's resolution. I'm going to get to the gym. All right. And getting there for the entire year, not just the first month. That's the hardest part about this is becoming the person you need to be to get to your dream business. I love it. What a nugget, man. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. The easy part is the strategy, what to do. It's getting yourself to do it and face, uncomfortable situations that makes all the difference.
Okay. So let's finish this public speaking thing up.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can wrap it up in about 5 minutes, and we'll dive into the deal that we want to talk about.
So basically, number one, for your public speaking, saw that, becoming a successful investor is facing all your fears, right? And running them down. And so, I remember listening to a Tim Ferriss podcast, and one of the things he was saying was, usually the thing that you fear most is usually the very next thing that you need to do. So like whatever your number one fear is right now, start putting a plan of action to do that as your number one priority going forward. And so I had to figure out how to do that. And I ended up going to a Tony Robbins weekend event in Chicago. It was 4 days long, and basically taught you all of the mindset stuff, A to Z. Got you to walk on fire on hot coals with your bare feet. We did that. It was incredible. That it was all about mindset. It wasn't. It's not going to kill you. And the fact that I learned so much in that weekend that Jim, I believe you reached out and said, "Hey, would you be willing to share, what you learned that weekend?" And I was like, "Oh, here we go. Here I'm going to have to face that number one fear." And so I just put it in a plan to do this presentation. I worked on it like a maniac and practiced it probably 100 times in my basement. I remember driving into the office that day. I felt like I was going to throw up. I was going to puke when I got there. I was so nervous, and went in. It went by in like a flash, like split second. I don't even remember doing it anymore. And then afterwards, like just the outpouring of support and positive feedback was just so overwhelmingly incredible, that I was like, this was so worth it. And I'm so thankful that I tracked that down, and I hope to continue to do that.
So we don't have time, guys, to talk about some of the nuggets here. That was one of the best trainings that we've ever had. And I believe we have it on recording. So I'll try and track down the recording, because he goes into a lot of details on the mindset and like what a lot of the things he learned from the Tony Robbins seminar. But from my perspective, it was interesting because when I walked in 10, 15 minutes earlier or whatever, Davo was already there. He had everything set up technology wise, like he does, like with your speaker and everything. And I remember saying, "Hey, how's it going?" And you were just like stone cold silent. You're just like, okay, all right. I'm thinking, not sure what's going to happen, and just stone cold silent. And then the meeting starts, and he's like, "Ah!" And literally everybody just is through the roof, like pumped up and jacked up, ready to dominate the world after this training. Oh man, it was one of the most fun things I've done. So I appreciate you, buddy. That was awesome. But I would have never. So it's interesting because there's a saying that don't ever judge your insides by someone's outsides. And what's interesting on this is like I had no idea about the fears he had, right? And he did so well at that training, that's public speaking. I would have bet $1 million freaking dollars that he had no fear of public speaking. Like literally, like that's how well he did on this, guys. But like to me, what it becomes though is like when you tackle that number one fear, like Davo did there, and he tackled the fear that he had initially on the deals, and he got that first deal. His worst fears happened, and he powered through anyway. He said, "I'm not going to give up no matter what." And he was that second mouse. I completely botched the story of the mice, and I pull up the quote, and we'll end on the quote. But when you tackle that, then with the confidence it gives you, and then he's like, "Okay, what's my next biggest fear?" "Okay, it was public speaking," and then he dominates that. So to me, like when you tackle your fears and you go after them, it is not like it makes you a better business person. It makes you a better spouse. It makes you just a better person. And it's not about like this whole entrepreneurial thing to me. I'll just talk about me is not about the end destination. It's not about I'm making $1 million or $10 million or $1 billion or whatever. What it is to me is about the person I become. Like when you're the person that can tackle your fears and dominate your fears, literally any obstacle that comes in your way, you can dominate anything. So there's if you guys look at his path and his journey, like, is it surprising to think that, okay, well, he was a beginning investor and he tackled that fear and he survived. He had his number one fear of public speaking. He tackled that and now has more motivation. He has more confidence. And then now he's starting to do all these deals and really take off. Like, is it surprising? Like you compare that to someone that never gets off the ground, that doesn't power through their fears. And they're just stuck in the mud and they don't ever take off. Now, what's interesting too is when you dominate and when you become that person that can take that fear and just dominate it. It's like the universe, like imagine like punching a hole through the universe, like a wall, and like a ray of light like coming out and shining out, like all sorts of opportunities open up for you. So really quick, and we'll get into the deal, the brothers and sisters, what happened with that? And what were you able to how the value and the for the community, like just real quick, let's sum up that.
Yeah. So one of the things that I realized when I was in this unhappy place of being at my corporate job and not having a way out, not having any freedom, was I was doing some soul searching, and I found out that, part of why I wasn't happy wasn't only because of the job, but was also because I wasn't giving back, and I didn't serve the community in any possible way. I was the guy that was making close to six figures, but felt broke because I had all these payments. And when that paycheck, that direct deposit came into my account from my corporate employer, like that next day, more money came out to pay the bills. It's kind of funny. I joke that I was making six figures and I was broke, but that can be the truth for a lot of people, especially in this country with, finances and how people are over leveraging their credit and all that stuff. And so I was in that boat. And so the thought of like, well, how would I contribute to society? I don't even have extra money to donate or anything like that. Well, so I just started looking in, well, how can I volunteer my time? And what are some of the things that I was passionate about? And so I was passionate about transforming St. Louis. That's what I named my company after. I want to make this city a better place to live for people. And how are we going to do that? So we're not going to actually do it by fixing up all the houses. We actually need to fix the people, right? So what better way to do that than to get into a situation where I could mentor somebody that's an at-risk youth in our community. And that's what Big Brothers Big Sisters provides an opportunity for all of us to do, is to donate a couple hours of your time every month to spend with this kid that is in a terrible situation. They're not getting the support at home. They're not getting support at school. They have no role models other than, it seems like, NBA basketball players and rappers. And so people need to step up and take these kids by the hand and show them how to live life and how to be successful and kind of be someone that they can lean on. And so that's what I did, was I became a big brother, and I did that first. And then once real estate started taking off for me and I started making money, I was able to take profits from these deals and write huge checks to Big Brothers Big Sisters and other charities as well. And I think since I've started investing, I've written checks for over $20,000 of just straight cash giving to these organizations. And it's something I never thought would be possible in like 20 years, that it happened that fast. But that's how powerful some of this stuff can be.
Good for you, man. And then let's tie it back to the public speaking. So what were you able to do for the group?
Yeah, so it's funny how all this ties together. So I get over the fear of public speaking. I write Big Brothers Big Sisters this big check my first year after investing, and then they asked me to come to a lunch. And at the lunch, all the employees at this corporate office were going to be there. I think there was about 60 in attendance. And at the lunch, they wanted me to share my story of how I was a big brother. And the goal was to recruit more big brothers and big sisters out of this group of 60 people. And so here we go again. I'm not, it's still nerve-wracking to get up here and talk to people and all that stuff. But it's much easier after the first couple times. But so I get up there and I'm giving this presentation. I scripted out word for word. I actually did some research and found like, here's the best way to tell a story to get people to connect with you and learn like what they can do to help, and kind of ended it on a call to action that we have 1,000 children in the St. Louis area that need help, that are sitting on this waiting list, waiting for somebody to come along and say, hey, I've got the time to donate to mentor and be with you and hang out with you and develop a relationship and help this kid succeed in life. And so this talk was about my journey and how I kind of faced fears to connect with my little brother, and how we got to a point where he graduated from high school and he's moved into a career and looking to get into construction. And I've took him through some of my rehabs and all that stuff. And at the end of that presentation, it was about a 15-minute long presentation it's actually on YouTube right now. Half the room signed up, and that was like mind-blowing to the people that were working at Big Brothers and Big Sisters, because they said they've never seen that kind of turnout at one of these lunch and learns. They said the most that they've ever gotten was maybe 5 or 10, and that only happened one time. And for half the room to sign up to apply to be a Big Brother, Big Sister was like just an incredible experience. And it just showed me like me having that fear. If I wouldn't have gone up in front of the room and spoke that day, and I get kind of choked up talking about this, excuse me. But, that fear of public speaking is selfish, because if I didn't go up there and do it, 30 little kids would still be on the list today. And so it's kind of looking at it from a different lens when you figure some of this stuff out.
So and there's no way to measure that or quantify that. When like we're both, Davo and I are both kind of numbers guys. It'd be nice to be able to like have a metric for that. But like just think about like the positiveness, the positive like spiral that occurs that then like imagine guys like 30 kids, they get hooked up with the right mentor that then impacts their lives, and instead of getting into drugs or they go to college and then they get a good job, and just the positive like vibes and the ripple effect that goes through the universe. And it all started with you having the belief in yourself that you could do it, and then actually having the courage to face your fears. None of it happens if you don't do that. All the deals that you're doing don't happen if you didn't have the courage to do it. So, dude, you are amazing, man. So, okay. So mindset stuff, we've gone into it. Let's talk some deals. What do you think?
Yeah.
Can you share your screen? I think you got some. Let's talk about this deal. Let's talk shop.
Hey there, just wanted to give you a heads up. When we go through this deal deep dive, we have the video recording on our website, doorstodeals.com/006. So if we start talking about what's on the screen, just check out, and you really want to know what's on the screen, just go onto our website and kind of pull up the part of where you're at, and you can kind of visually see it on doorstodeals.com/006. We also have a Facebook group that we're launching. Make sure that you check that out as well. And you can find that Facebook group on our website as well.
Okay. So mindset stuff, we've gone into it. Let's talk some deals. What do you think? Can you share your screen? I think you got some. Let's talk about this deal. Let's talk shop.
All right. Let me pull this one up. This was really fun to do. So let's see here. Let me know when you can see it.
We got it, buddy. All right. So context. So this is a hoarder house, fix and flip.
This is the hoarder house fix and flip. Never seen anything quite like it. I don't know if I'll ever see anything like this again. But this was last year, early last year. So we got the lead. You see the slide now?
Yep.
All right. So lead comes in. I've got my website set up, transformstlouis.com. People can go on there and see that we buy houses. They can put in their phone number, their address, and it basically shoots an email to me. And so I had this website up for probably 18 months, and
Okay.
I'd never gotten, well, I take that back. I may have gotten one lead during the first 18 months, but it was just junk. So all of a sudden I wake up one morning and this guy was on the website the night before and put in his address on my website. No idea how he found it, but he did. And so I'm calling him that morning and talking to him on the phone, trying to get to see the house.
It's a miracle.
Yeah, it's a miracle. So you just put this, put a website up there because I mean, it's no work once you get it set up and it just sits out there and can attract these type of leads.
So what's interesting for like newer investors, little sidebar here, I think you should have just a basic couple page website just for credibility. But the actual effort that it takes to do pay-per-click leads or to like use it to generate business, if you don't have the finances and the money to support that, it's really not a good use of your time. So, but it is a good thing to have one up, even just for credibility, because a homeowner probably will Google you and look up your company. It's nice to have a little bit of credibility to it, and the website helps with that. Okay, sorry, sidebar over. Go back to the deal. Yeah.
So I call this guy, and he's telling me about, and this is in a nice area. This is if you're in St. Louis, this is Baldwin, Missouri. Very nice middle class area. And I'm talking to this guy on the phone, and I'm like, well, tell me a little bit about the house. So I try to ask open-ended questions, try to get as much from him as I can, and try to do as little talking as I can to kind of keep getting the information in. So he's telling me all about the house, and he's telling me about how nice this house is and how updated the kitchen is, how updated the bathrooms are, how it's got newer this, newer that, newer this. And I'm like, okay, all right, well, let's set an appointment. So I set an appointment to go out and look at it that afternoon. And so I went ahead and just brought my listing contract with me. I had no sales contracts with me or anything. I thought I was going to put my agent hat on, and it was going to be a listing in this nice area. And until he opened the front door, that's when I saw this middle picture of what you're seeing on your screen. That's the view when you open the front door of this house.
Hey, real quick. Let's go back to the phone call. Let's slow it down just a tiny bit, because I think there's a nugget I want to share, but I need to ask you the question first. So he told you that the house was super nice. Did you get any indication of motivation on the phone call? Did you have a feeling like this guy's maybe motivated at all, or was he kind of
So that's always one of the questions I ask. So at the end is like, what's your timeline? How fast do you need to sell the house, or when do you need to sell the house? And he was like, right away. He said, we want to move as soon as we can. So as fast as we can sell the house, the better. What they were planning to do, I got kind of where he wanted to go was he wanted to buy an RV and move into an RV and then drive down to Florida and do some traveling in the South and warmer weather climates and kind of retire that way.
Okay. So one of the mistakes a lot of times newer investors, I think, make is I think we tend to overqualify sometimes. And like, for example, we one time had a homeowner, I forget the exact numbers, guys, so bear with me. It could be off just a little bit, but we had a homeowner one time call in and say, hey, I need to sell this property for $400,000. And then we looked it up, and like the closest comp was like the ARV was like 350, like a wide gap. And earlier in my career, I wouldn't have gone out on the appointment, but I learned that he was motivated. I went out anyway, and we bought it for literally 50 cents on the dollar of what he said at the beginning of the phone call. So motivation trumps everything, guys. When somebody says they need to sell their house ASAP, get your ass out there and go on and run the appointment. Get out there. Okay. So then he says everything's nice. Let's kind of go to the next phase.
Yeah. So
everything's nice. You open the door and it's a shit box. Okay.
I open the door and you see what you see on the screen here, and it is bad. And I'm like, just doing my best to act like everything's normal. There's these little pathways all throughout the house. there's stuff piled up in every single room. There's cats in the house. There's cat pee, cat poop, cat litter everywhere that you could find. There's garbage everywhere, trash everywhere. It was disgusting. Like, it's absolutely disgusting. And we got some more pictures here of the appointment. Let me go to the next slide. So this was the kitchen here on the left, and then the kitchen was really bad. Like, it was just piled with trash and stinking garbage.
Is that like a gas funnel? Like, I think I see like a. Oh man, that's amazing! Like on the kitchen counter. Oh, that's great! Great thing to eat.
Yeah, it is the worst house I've ever seen. Anywhere on TV or anything.
This is actually pretty nice compared to some of the ones I've seen.
Oh, really?
Believe it or not. I've been in houses before where literally you open the door and like you have some walk space here. Like literally I had to step up like 3 feet in the air to get on the first article closing. The only floor space was enough to crack the door open. And then when I went in, like I had to step up onto the stuff. Okay.
Wow. So this might be a lot more common than I was thinking.
It's not crazy common, but it does happen. Yeah.
So and then the bathroom here in the middle, it's disgusting. We even, it was bad. And then on the right, it was the master bedroom. We don't know where these people bathed or slept, and it was crazy that somebody actually lived here. And then more pictures here of this first appointment that we had. This was one of the bedrooms just on the left, piled up to the ceiling. The basement, of course, was completely full of stuff. And it was just a nasty, nasty house. And on the right there, you see the carpeted stairs that have just cat litter, cat hair, cat poop all over them. That was all throughout the house as well. All said and done, when we rehab this house, now that you're seeing the junk here, it took 8 dumpsters to empty the house. 8. And none of the people that we were working with, none of the contractors had ever seen anything come close to 8 dumpsters. And it took all of 8 dumpsters.
Oh my goodness. And there probably wasn't like one thing that was worth like keeping in all
nothing.
Yeah. Okay. So you go in there and then, so what happens next?
Yeah. So that, then I come back, kind of figure out what price he's looking for. I think we were talking about pricing at that first appointment. I think he may have thrown out like 195,000. And so I kind of had that in my mind, and I went back and I said, okay, houses in this neighborhood are worth like 400, like at the top end. And then, I'm thinking I didn't really know how to estimate the rehab on something this big. I had never done anything close to this big before and in this terrible of shape. So I just kind of guessed that it'd be $100,000 to rehab it. And so I went with, buy it 195, put $100,000 into it, sell for 400. That seems like a deal. So the next day I went back there with a contract, and he signed it. And of course I had in the contract that we were going to get an inspection done on the property, because I could barely see anything in this house or really judge the condition of it while I was there, especially with them kind of following me around. So we got it fully inspected. I spent probably $1,000 on getting every inspection you could possibly think of. And that's when I realized that buying it at 195 was going to be way too risky. And before this, I actually I was a little nervous about doing this by myself. I had it under contract for myself. It was a huge, huge project. I had another rehab going at the same time. So this was going to be like in addition to a rehab that we were already been working on for 4 months. So I decided to bring in a partner, and who better than another 3 Doors network affiliate here, and Kyle Fernandez. And so I said, hey, Kyle, I've got these inspections coming up at this property I just put under contract. Why don't you come out, take a look at it, see if there's some way we can partner on this deal? Because I think I might have bit off a little too much here. And so he comes out at the inspections. We're getting all the inspections. We're finding out that there's way more wrong than I kind of estimated to begin with. And Kyle's basically running his numbers as well. And we're talking out in the driveway. And we said, we got to go back in and renegotiate the purchase price on this house. And this was really, really scary and nerve wracking for me. I was super nervous. And we did like this good cop, bad cop routine. So like, I was like the good guy, friendly, and Kyle kind of drove him and said, hey, like, there's no way we can make this work at this price. I mean, there's just no way. And we found X, Y, Z, all these problems that are going to take way more money than we even thought. We couldn't see the house when we were here the first time. So we basically got them to drop the price by a significant amount to make this work because they were motivated, because they had kind of already started the process of, okay, I feel comfortable selling my house to this gentleman. Let's start putting things in motion to start on our retirement. And of course, hearing that they're going to get less amount was not easy to discuss. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So can I interject something just really quick, and then let's continue? So what have we been talking about this whole time with fear, right? Like, did you guys notice how he said having to renegotiate this contract I was not comfortable with, and there was fear there? What happens if he says, well, no, I'm uncomfortable now. Okay, well, this is just a dead deal. I'd rather not have that uncomfortable conversation. I just have that done deal. Well, the deal's dead then at that point, right?
Yep.
But
exactly.
You've already learned from him that he knows how to do things that he's not comfortable with.
Yep.
So you were able to do it anyway.
Right.
Did it help having Kyle there too?
Yeah. Yeah. He was huge at this point in the deal. Having him there, and he basically told me, he's like, hey, it does not hurt to ask them to lower the price. So let's do it. We have to do it. So that's how we did it. And they came around and signed an amendment right there to lower the price. And I said, there's nothing else to worry about now, guys. Inspections are done. We're buying the house. We go to the next slide here to show you what the purchase price was and everything. So we basically went from like 195 to 157 to make this work. We closed on March 1st of last year. We also negotiated that the seller would possess the house after closing. And the reason they needed to do that was because they didn't have any liquid cash available. All their equity was in the house itself. So being able to close on the house, still live there for a whole week, enabled them to take those proceeds and go buy, I think they bought a new pickup truck and they bought a trailer, an RV to pull behind it. So they used those proceeds to basically get the vehicle that's going to allow them to live and retire where they want to be.
So it was a win-win. Yeah, they were able to move on with the rest of their life, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, so let's go into the. We're getting a little bit long on time.
Yeah, I'll blow through this.
Okay.
Don't worry. All right. So then we get to we get to the rehab. So initially, our rehab budget was $130,000, and it turned out at the end it ended up being $150,000 rehab to renovate this home.
Hey, how did you and Kyle structure your partnership, by the way?
So the way we did it was I bought the house. So I paid for the house, the 157, and then he paid for the rehab, the 150 here, and then he managed the rehab. So we did a 50-50 split. So I found the deal and I purchased the property, and then he funded the rehab and managed the whole project. So all these beautiful pictures that you're about to see, like I had very little involvement with the actual rehab, which was nice because I had another rehab going at the same time, and probably couldn't have done this in the timeline that he did, or I wouldn't have even came close to the finishes that he was able to do. So we really leveraged kind of each other's talents there with me bringing the deal and him making it into a really profitable,
Awesome.
beautiful home.
Okay. So anyway, so back to the house.
Yeah. So this is the front after we rehabbed it. Like literally everything on this house had to change. Like we had to pull everything out of the yard. The siding was new. The roof was new. The garage was new. The driveway was new. The walkways were new. Everything was redone. And this is my favorite picture. So this is when I opened the door that first day, looking in up top. And then this is after, the rehab for the exact same location in the house.
You guys did an awesome job.
And it was an incredible transformation. We took out all kinds of walls. We had to move the basement staircase to make that kitchen as big as it did. We weren't going to be able to fit an island that huge with a basement staircase right up against it. So it was a really cool transformation here. Some of the other pictures we have. So this is look on the left, that's looking at the front door of this from inside. And then on the right is a few steps back so you could see everything, but that's looking at the front door again. So it's essentially the same, the same sight line there, but look at the difference. It's freaking
So
phenomenal.
it feels like your 130 rehab budget was probably accurate, but you kind of went over the top with some of these finishings. Was that the extra 20K and just higher end finishings, or anything else come up?
That had a little bit to do with it. I want to say one of the big problems we had, and I got a picture of it later, was the backyard, and we didn't even realize this during our inspection, had like this river running through it of like all this rain. Anytime it rained, it just ran this river.
Gotcha.
And poured all this mud out into the sidewalk, into the street. And so we had to bring in bulldozers, and we redid all this, the landscaping, dug it all up, moved dirt around to try to get the water runoff under control. And then actually when we had it under contract to sell, the buyer's inspector said that it hadn't been fixed, like that there was still water running through this property under the straw that we had put down to grow the grass. And so then we had to go back with the bulldozers. And this time the only fix was to bring in dump trucks of dirt. So we had to bring in way more fill to actually fix the problem. And so that was probably a large part of it. But then there's some other little things like, that came.
Gotcha.
Up. All right. So then next picture is just focusing on the kitchen. So you go from that terrible, disgusting kitchen on the left to the one on the right that's just bright white and clean and just very open and just going to be great for entertaining.
Stager did a nice job.
Yeah, they did a really good job staging.
Yeah, we're huge fans of staging too. We just believe when a fully rehab house needs to get staged. You know, we've tried it both ways, guys. Yep. Staging, no brainer. Now you can make an argument that if it's a low enough price point, maybe not, but we stage pretty much everything.
Yep. And then this was the master bedroom. We did a really, really cool master bathroom. And I actually disagreed with Kyle on this. We had to take out a bedroom from the upstairs to make this shower. This shower is huge. You probably can't tell from the pictures here, but this is like a dual walk-in shower that's just massive with a rain head and a soaking tub in front of it. That area is like a whole bedroom in this house that was converted. So that was part of it too, was really going over the top with this bathroom, this master bath. So we put most of our focus on the master bathroom and the kitchen and just the open concept in there. And so that's what really allowed us to sell this property quickly and get a good price. Next, in basement, we did some basic finishes down there, made it look really nice as well. And then this is the backyard that I was talking about. So this was after we fixed the backyard, and then we had to come back here and actually grass had grown by this point, and the yard looked beautiful when we were under contract with the buyer. And then we had to come back and tear it all out and bring in all these dump trucks of dirt to actually remedy this water problem that was not all the way fixed. So that was in the backyard there. And then just to close this thing up, so we listed it on September 11th for $400,000. The highest comp in this neighborhood in like the last 3 years was $400,000. That was like the highest price point. So we felt like we could possibly get more, but we didn't want to price ourselves out of the market. Being that we've held on to this thing for 6 months, it was a little bit longer than we'd like. We usually like to get these turned around in 3 months, but because this project was so extensive, it took 6 to 7 months here to finish it. So we ended up selling it on October 11th. Went under contract the first weekend. We had multiple offers and we accepted one for $427. So 27 over asking price, which was really nice. And then so then just to break down our costs on this one. So we had a $157 purchase price, the $150 rehab. We had about 16 grand in holding costs. So that's like your utilities, insurance, taxes, interest on the loans that both of us had for our part in this. And then about 20,000 in selling costs. So that's like your real estate commissions, title work, surveys, missing one there, staging. So at the end of the day, it was a huge success and it was an $84,000 profit.
So a couple of questions for you. So congratulations, man, 84 grand profit. That's amazing. How instrumental was Kyle in this process? Do you think you would have even, had you not kind of leveraged him with the help with the negotiations and everything like that, do you think that you would have been able to keep the deal on your own?
It's hard to say. Definitely wouldn't have been able to do what he did with it in the time that he did with it, or in the timeline that we got it done. So I would say no.
So he was just an absolute key player to this.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, how did you guys connect again?
So we connected through the Three Doors Network.
Okay, so you guys wouldn't have met, but and here's one of the other things though, like you and Kyle also show up to stuff, right? Like you consistently show up to the events and the trainings and everything like that. So so not only did you connect through the group, but you showed up and that gave time to build a relationship. How long did it take for you guys to build that relationship to where you were comfortable doing this together?
You know, it's funny you say that. So I remember when I had my first coffee with Kyle, and it was right after I did the Tony Robbins presentation. He was in the audience that day, and he said, "I got to grab coffee with you. I have to grab." And I had really I knew who he was. I had never really talked to him. He's like, "I got to grab coffee with you." So I like grabbed coffee with him, and he's like, "Dave, I'm doing a presentation at Central Bank next week. I want to do this presentation there." And so he talked me into doing a joint, Tony Robbins like presentation at Central Bank. And so we go there and we're in this conference room, and on the outside of the conference room, it says, "Please do not be loud in the conference room because there's other people working all over the Central Bank office." And I'm like, "Oh, great." So we're there like 10 minutes before we're supposed to fire this thing up, and we got speakers with us and everything. And there's like, it's like, let's just do it. So we ended up doing it. It was a really good presentation again, and it kind of started us bonding. And I guess it was about 4 months after that, we just kind of kept in contact, and I thought, following him through his rehabs and what he was doing. And then this deal showed up and he was the right man for the job for sure.
That's awesome, man. Well, congratulations on the deal. Thanks for sharing it. Thanks for your time, man. It's really inspiring to me. And I want to, so I'm not going to botch. Let's end with the quote that I completely botched and messed up. because I think this is cool. So from Catch Me If You Can, 2 little mice fell in a bucket of cream. The first mouse quickly gave up and drowned. The second mouse wouldn't quit. He struggled so hard that eventually he churned the cream into butter and crawled out. Gentlemen, as of this moment, David Onanian, you are that second mouse. Congratulations, buddy. Keep inspiring people. Keep rocking out. Appreciate you, buddy.
Hey, just a reminder for this particular show, go to doorstodeals.com/006. Again, that's doorstodeals.com/006. Go out, live your purpose, and above all else, go after your dreams. Take care. Thanks for tuning into this show. For more episodes and resources that will unlock Doors to Deals, check out our website, doorstodeals.com.